I want you to meet me at 1 Kings chapter number 18, verse number 42 through verse number 44. And Elijah went up to the top of Carmel. Then he bowed down on the ground and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." So he went up and looked and said, "There is nothing." And 7 times he said, "Go again." Then it came to pass the 7th time that he said, "There's a cloud as small as a man's hand rising out of the sea." So he said, "Go up, say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Oh, I love this one. Looking beyond what you see.
Amen.
Looking beyond what you see. At this passage reading, it had not rained for 3 years. There was a drought in the land. And Elijah had gone up to the top of Mount Carmel with his servant. And at this point, he was praying for rain. That was the objective. I'm going up. Let's go up together, and we're going to pray. We're going to believe that God's going to bring the rain. Sometimes we believe for God to bring the rain. Is that right?
Yes.
We believe for God to bring the rain. So he goes up, and Elijah bows down, his head between his knees, and he's praying. He tells his servant to go and look out over the sea. That was the only instruction. Go and look out over the sea. Now the servant was looking for rain. That was his objective. We're praying for rain, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for rain. He comes back and he says, "I see nothing." So Elijah, believing God, when you believe God, you believe that God answers prayer. You believe that he answers prayer. So he says, "Go again." And the servant goes out and he looks. "I see nothing," which means I don't see any rain. Elijah had him to go back 7 times. And the 7th time, the servant is getting frustrated now. "I've gone again and again, and I don't see what I have been going and looking for." When we pray and believe God, we don't see what we were praying for. Sometimes we'll give up after the first prayer. Because clearly God has not answered this prayer. Because he did not answer it in my time frame. He did not answer it maybe the way that you thought he should answer. But when the servant went 7 times, when someone tells you to go 7 times, clearly there's something you may have missed the first 6 times. So the servant looks out. He looks. And he sees something. He goes back and he tells Elijah, "I see a small cloud about the size of a man's hand rising up out of the ocean." And Elijah says, "Woo!" That's Pastor Gene's interpretation. He says, "Go down because the rain is coming." Now the servant's saying, "I see a cloud." What the servant missed was clouds bring rain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're praying for big things and God will give you a small thing. But God takes small things, and from the small things he makes big things happen. But we don't rejoice about the small things. We want to rejoice because I want rain. God, I'm praying for rain, and all I'm looking for is rain, but you're missing the clouds that God is trying to send you. Because the clouds is what we should be rejoicing about. The clouds gives you hope. Because within that hope is what you have been praying for.
Yeah.
Faith is the substance of things
Hope.
hope for. The hope is a cloud.
Yeah.
You pray and you believe God for hope. And you accept what God sends you. And you begin to rejoice at what God gives you.
Yeah.
Now, when the servant went out, let's go back to this. When he went out the first time, he was looking for rain. When did the cloud show up? Was it the 7th time? Or was it always there and he didn't look beyond? See, when you go and you're only looking for what you're looking for, you miss what's already there. Can't see the forest for the trees. The cloud, I believe that the cloud was always there. But until he was looking beyond what he saw, he couldn't see what God was showing him. Sometimes God's trying to show us something, but we're so busy looking for what we want. We're looking for what we're looking for. We're missing what God is putting right there in front of us.
Amen.
We have to oftentimes look so far beyond what we see. The substance of what we hope for. That's what faith really is. How many times, rhetorical question, have we not tried enough? We gave up because we didn't see what we wanted to see. And we concluded that, well, God's forgotten about me. Well, I guess you don't get everything you prayed for. We get into these pity parties. Sweet Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? We can get into it real quick. Put on those old blues records. Huh? I got bad news, baby. Anyway, just me. Get you a little wine and you're done. God forgot about me. Here's what I want you to do. We'll do a little experiment. I'm not going to get to your paper in just a moment. Does everyone have a bulletin, a program? So I want you to look at this. If you don't have one, raise your paw and Barb will get you one. We'll give one to you. All right. So first thing I want you to do is you're looking at me. I hope you can see me clearly. I want you to start with the experiment. First, I want you, now I'm going to show you what I want you to do first. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to have you to hold your hand up in front of me with your thumb out. Not yet. But I'm going to have you to hold it in a moment, just you're going to hold your hand up, just your thumbs up, like saying, hey, thumbs up, good job, Pastor. Hey, good job. Your thumb's going to be right there in front of you. And what I want you to do is put it right in front of me. But I still want you to focus on me, even though your thumb's going to be there. And then I'm going to have you shift your focus to your thumb. And I'm going to ask you what you see. Got it? Okay, thumbs up. Right here, right? Look at me. All right, you're still looking at me. Your thumb is right in front of me, but you can still see me. Is that right? You can still see me. How many thumbs do you see? You see 2 thumbs?
Yeah.
How many thumbs do you have?
1.
1. Okay, but you see 2, right?
Yeah.
Now shift your focus to your thumb. Looking directly at your thumb. How many of me do you see? 2. Am I clear or am I blurry? Blurry. If you're looking at your thumb, if you're focused on your thumb, you'll still see me in the background, but I will not be clear. Okay, hands down, thank you. And there will be 2. What I'm trying to show you is even though you can put your thumb up, you can still see me. But if you focus on your thumb, I become blurry. I become distorted. Because what you focus on, you think about. What you think about, you bring about. What we often focus on is what's right in front of us. And we're missing the possibility of what is beyond that. Because beyond us, beyond what you see, a whole bunch is going on. If you look at that wall, you think that the world ends where the wall is. But there's a whole lot going on beyond the wall, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on beyond your perception of what you see. And what we've got to get in the mindset is not basing everything on what we see or what we hear and looking at the possibilities of what is beyond. Because that's where we'll find Jesus. That's where hope is. It's beyond. It's the possibilities. If you look at the problem, you'll miss the possibilities. Because the possibilities are beyond the problem. If you focus on the possibilities, the problem goes away. That's what we want. Don't focus on what you see. Look at what's beyond there. That's the possibility. That's the hope. That's the dream. It's beyond what you see. But if you always focus on what you see, you will miss it. Now let's look at our paper here. This is going to be a challenge for some of us. I saw some of you looking at it already. Now I have 2 pictures. The first one, kind of plain. As you look at it, you see a kind of an image of what would be an image or representation of Jesus. You see the little images going across there. Right? But that's what's on the paper. But I want you to focus on what's beyond there. Now, in order to do that, you hold your paper in front of you. Now, you can look at the paper. But I want you to look at what's beyond there. Focus your vision on me, maybe. And then put the paper right in front. But don't change your focus. Still put your eyes on what's beyond. What do you see? If you're still looking at the paper, you're looking at the wrong thing. If you're still seeing the paper, I'm saying if you're focused on the paper. If the paper is clear to you, you'll miss the vision. All right. How many see an image of Jesus? Oh, boy, we got to work on this one, huh? Here's what we got. If you can look beyond your paper, which means you're going to relax your vision. If you can look beyond, don't look at your paper, look at something right here. Even though your paper's there, you're focusing on what's beyond your paper. If you can look beyond, that means your eyes are going to be relaxed. Don't look at your paper. Let your eyes relax completely. And let the image come to you. What you'll see is an image of Jesus with his hands stretched out. A little lamb on both sides. And little bolts of light behind him. How many can see that? Oh, you can see it back here. The same is true with the second image. The second image is a little bit more difficult. Work on it at home. What I want you to know is if you just look at this, if you're looking at just this, you're missing what's beyond here. There's more than what you see. Now here's what will happen when you do see the image. When you do see the image, you get a couple of things. You find that it's 3D. There's depth. You can see what's behind him. You can see, and then the revelation goes, now I can see it. You get it, I can see it. Because when you're able to have vision, you're able to see beyond clearly what's right there. And then if you can see the image that you really are meant to see, you think about everything that you've looked at and missed the perspective because you only saw what you saw. See, if you can see this, you'll be able to see other things that come to you that are very similar. Because when you look at that, if all you can see is the stuff, I don't see anything. What do you see? I don't see anything. But there are clouds. There are promises. There are hope that we're missing. Because we're only seeing what our eyes allow us to see. True vision is beyond what is visible. True vision is beyond what is visible. Now here's what happened. Elisha, we talked about Elijah just a moment ago, but Elisha was a prophet that succeeded Elijah. And God had given him visions of what the enemy was doing. So the enemy wanted to capture Elisha because God was spoiling all of his plans. So if we capture Elisha, then there's no way that they'll know what we're doing because God's revealing it to Elisha. So they want to go and capture Elisha so now they can defeat God's people. So here's what happened. They get up early in the morning. They find that Elisha is in a place called Dothan. So they come and they surround Elisha. So there are enemies all around him. So when they wake up in the morning, the servant goes out. And he looks out and he sees the army. And he goes back into the tent and he says, Master, we're doomed. That's it. It's over. But how many know it's not over till God says it's over? Amen. It's not over till God says it's over. Amen. Sometimes we will see something and we will call what we see and we missed it. Because it's not what we see, it's what we say sometimes. God will give you a revelation. And when you see something, God says, ignore what you see. Because I'm going to show you something beyond that. So when the servant went in and saw Elisha, he says, Master, we are doomed. There's nothing that we can do. But Elisha saw something different. Now here it is. They're both looking at the same thing. But Elisha sees something totally different than what the servant saw. And Elisha was comforted by the vision. The servant was disturbed because of the problem that he saw. He only saw the issue at hand. And here's what Elisha did. Elisha, in verse 17, Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. Then the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. So here it is. They have an army, but God has an army. And all that the servant saw was the army of the enemy. But what he was missing was the army of God. The chariots that was all around them. And when he saw that God's chariots and army was greater, I'm sure the servant says, we got this. And that's what God wants you to see. You got this. You got this. Don't judge by the seeing, what you see and what you hear. Know deep down that God's got this.
Amen.
It's the army that you cannot see. It's the faith that goes beyond what you see. If you're so busy always making your judgments on what you see and what you hear or what they said, you're missing the vision. You're missing what God is trying to reveal to you. There's so much more.
Yes.
Now, when the servant first went out and saw the army, the enemy, where was the chariots of fire? They were always there, weren't they? But his eyes were not open to see them. You have to be open to what God is trying to do. And you have to be always attentive to what God is telling you. Because if you're not tuned in, if you're not spiritually discerned, you will miss the revelation that God is trying to give you in wherever you are. And you'll always see the problem. And you'll listen to what everybody else says about your issue. But you're not consulting God. Everyone has an opinion about your problem. Did you know that? Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got something they can share with you about your situation. But what is God saying? Because that's the one that really should matter the most. Nothing is too hard for God. So when he allowed the young man to see, suddenly it changed everything. When you're able to see what God wants you to see, it changes everything for you. You see yourself so differently. It gives you a hope that is beyond what you could ever imagine. Because you see yourself the way that God sees you. You see the situation the way that God sees it. It's not over. It's not hopeless. God has a plan. God has a future for each of us. And it's beyond what we can see. Can someone say amen to that?
Amen. Amen.
When you were in school, think back to the moment you had standardized tests. Everybody took the same test. And your grade was based upon maybe how well you studied or how attentive you were in class or whether you were even focused on that subject. Some got A's. Some got D's. Some got that big red F. You could do better. Notes on your circling stuff, you know. I like to get the paper when the only thing that was up there was the grade. Well, they got lines through it and red marks and checks and all this stuff. Oh, that means you didn't do too well. That was the grading system that you had in school. But when we get out of school, we change the grading system. That C that you used to get in school is the new A. You set your standard. You set your mark differently. Now your C work becomes A work. Now everything is judged about your perception. Not about reality, but what you perceive it to be. What's hard for you? What you say is hard. What's impossible? What you say is impossible. You get to set the bar and the standard. Deep down, we know that we can do more. But to do that, you got to have a bigger vision of yourself and an expectation of you. You got to know that sometimes destiny is trying to call to you. It's presenting challenges before you for you to rise up and meet them. And when you can meet those challenges, you're able to go beyond. Make yourself proud. Don't wait for somebody to tell you how good you are, how well you've done. Look at yourself and pick yourself up by your own bootstraps and tell yourself you can do this. Make yourself proud. And when you're able to accomplish, go beyond you, you're becoming a visionary. See, a visionary doesn't see what's there. A visionary sees something way beyond there. You start seeing a vision for yourself that's much greater than where you are. And when you get a glimpse of that vision will not let you rest. When you know that you can do better, you can no longer rest at where you are. You become very disturbed by where you are when you know that you can do better. When I graduated in high school, my vocation, my desire was to become an auto mechanic. That was my first intent. And I enrolled in auto mechanic school for one day. It's not for me. Whose idea was this? And then I joined the Air Force, and I wanted to stay there for a career. I was going to be a career guy. It was fine. It was working for me. It was easy. It was easy. You see, that became my new A. I knew within me there was a greater potential, but we can rest with whatever we set the bar to be. I knew that I could do more. You know that you can do more. But it's going to rest upon you. No one can make you. No one can make you step up and achieve what you know that only you can do. And then here's what happened. I started having a line. How many people swim? Everybody can swim. Raise your hand if you can swim. Okay. I didn't start swimming until later in life. I'm going to use this analogy. I didn't start swimming until later in life. Now, before I would swim, I would go and I would just kind of wade at the edge of the bank and just kind of stay there and watching all these little kids swimming, and I'm out there just kind of wading in there. You know, and I was too proud to use the little floaters, you know. I didn't want to do that, so I just Now the world, my world, was divided among two people. Those that can swim and those that can't swim. You'll notice, whenever there's something that you can't do, suddenly you have a division. There are people who can, and there are people who cannot. When I got into the military, I found out there was enlisted people and there were officers, and I was enlisted. And now I saw it as enlisted and officer. I can't swim, now I'm enlisted. And then I found that there were people that had college education and degrees, and I didn't have one. So now I was enlisted, couldn't swim, and had no degree. And I was like 130 pounds, so I was weak and enlisted. No. Okay, you get the idea. You'll start making your world, your perception of you so small. And that's who you start seeing yourself as. That's not who God sees you as. That's who you see yourself as. If I couldn't swim, what I have to do? Just take lessons, learn how to swim, get a degree, get stronger, which is all those things I did accomplish over time. I can't swim, by the way. But that's what I'm saying. You at some point face your challenges, and with vision, know that looking beyond that and accomplishing the thing that you find that are difficult is where a new you starts to develop. You don't develop from the easy things. You develop when you're able to go beyond you and see stuff and no, I can do this. And you rise up to that challenge. Yeah. You're able to meet that challenge and you feel better about you. Yeah. And you don't need anybody to pat you on the back anymore. You don't need all the applause anymore because now you've set your own standard. You're raising the bar. Yeah. And that's what we all have to do. Number 2, your vision is not seen at first glance. Beginning at verse number 2. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. Number 3, his delight is in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge by the sight of his eyes, nor decide by the hearing of his ears. Our decision should not be made upon first impressions. Don't judge a book by what? Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't let the initial impression become your mindset or determine your final impression about something. You had an impression about something and been wrong. You thought someone didn't like you, or you thought something wasn't going to work, or you didn't think you were going to get the job, or whatever, but you found out that you were wrong. It was a setup. It was meant for you. They said no. They said no, so I guess I give up. We know better, right? Expect the no's. Expect, because beyond the no's is a yes. Keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking. Beyond that, beyond what you are set up for. If you believe that you're undeserving, well, nobody's going to hire me, no one's going to say yes, I'm not going to get what I want. You're going to see that, and that's what's going to be your reality. And you'll give up when it doesn't happen. But you've got to go beyond that. I was once looking for a pegboard. I wanted a pegboard to hang some things up. And I went to Walmart to see if they sold them. They didn't sell pegboards. And they had a lot of framing and a lot of, what do you call those, displays. So I went around to the back of the store behind there, and I saw that they had a little area that they kept a lot of the stuff, the displays and things like that. And it was kind of a little fenced area, but it was open. And I saw the most beautiful pegboards. I mean, just what I wanted. And they were just right there, saying, Gene, we're right here for you. So I thought to myself, they're out here in the open. It's going to be rain on. The sun's going to destroy them. They're basically throwaway items. There's no sign that says, do not take, keep out. There was nothing that prohibited me, right? You see the framework, huh? So I took one. I loaded that pegboard up, and it was perfect, just what I wanted. I went home and was working on it. I said, God, can't I have the pegboard? It was just a pegboard. But I knew I had to take it back. So I took it back. I went into the store, and I says, hey, you got some pegboards back there. They're just, out there in the elements. You mind if I have one of those pegboards? I talked to the manager. He said, oh, no. Those are displays, and we actually use those. We interchange those all the time, so those are displays we use. He said, no. I left thinking, listen. Then I thought, a no does not mean a no. That was the first no. That was the no person. The next day I went back, different managers there. I said, you got some pegboards back there, and I was wondering if I could have one. She said, sure. She said, you're going to go shopping right now? I said, yes. She said, I'll tell you what, I have someone go back and get one for you and bring it up. She says, you only need one? I said, no, just one is fine. So I went and shopped, and when I came back, the same pegboard, the same one, was there waiting for me. And I thought to myself, God is trying to show me something. See, there's a lesson. The first one is there's a way that God wants to do things for you. There's a way. You can do it your way, or you can do it God's way. And so often we do it our way, and we want God to approve our way. But our way is not God's way. Did you know that? God's way is better. But God's way causes us to have to put aside our way and go back and do it God's way. And that's our challenge. Because when you're doing it God's way, you're missing your vision, you're surrendering yourself, you're starting to try and see what God sees. And God is trying to do something in us, because God sees something in us, and God's trying to get us to rise up to what He sees. See, the little criminal me, the one who wants to take what I want, that was not the me that can go beyond. God can't use that. But God can use the humility. Someone that can look beyond that, look beyond the no, because you say, God, I did the right thing, and they said no. God says, but you gave up. Don't ever give up. When you're in God's perfect will, know that God has a perfect plan. God will take you through whatever He needs to take you through so that His plan and His will can be manifest in your life. But it's so far beyond us. Beyond us. Be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. John chapter number 6. Jesus had, how many disciples did Jesus have? 12? How many say He had 12? How many say He had 100? How many say He had something more than 12? He had more than 12. Jesus had many disciples. Now, what was it different about the 12? The 12 was the one that He chose. He chose 12. But there were many followers of Jesus at the time. There were many that followed Him, but there were ones that were chosen. Those were the 12 that we know. Those are the ones that subscribed in the Bible. Because there were those that were with Jesus because they wanted something from Jesus. They liked what Jesus was doing. This was good. We like Jesus. He's a good teacher. And he fed us one time with some bread and some fish. Hey, remember He fed us 5,000? Yeah, that was great. That was good fish too. I remember all this stuff. Remember He raised the dead? I was there when He raised the dead. And there were those that followed Jesus when everything went well. And that's the Jesus sometimes that we know. The good times Jesus. Jesus that meets every need. But then there's a Jesus that's there when you're going through a struggle. He knows that the struggle is meant for you. He knows that if He was to take you out, you won't learn the lesson. Because beyond the struggle, beyond the hardship, there's gain. But if you don't understand that, then you want Jesus to take you out of every situation that is painful. And we pray, okay, Jesus, I got another need right here. I need you to help me right now. Whoa, Jesus. Jesus. So you ask other people to pray. I think Jesus is asleep. Let's all pray and see if we can wake up Jesus. that's not what Jesus does. Sometimes when we're looking at something, he wants us to go beyond us. Your answer is beyond you. Not just praying and like your parents said, you just, mama, can I have mama? Mama, can I have mama? Can I have mama? Mama, what? Can I have mama? And you just keep just wearing mama down. And we want to do the same thing with Jesus. It doesn't work that way. I had those parents when I asked for something. You ever been in the store and you ask for something, your parents look at you one time, you say, okay. Put that right back on the shelf. Dust it. You know what they mean, right? But we think that we should have everything that we pray for. I pray, Jesus does the work. That's my Jesus. But that's not the Jesus that died for us. Here's what happened. When Jesus started teaching them real things about salvation, about the sacraments, anyone who must come after me must eat my flesh and drink my blood, and talking about the real things that matters beyond where you are right now. Because they thought at some point Jesus was going to die, but they didn't know that he was Lord of Lords and King of Kings, that he was coming back again. They only thought that he was the Jesus of the now. So they only worshiped and followed the now Jesus and what they could get from him. When Jesus started teaching things that were real and difficult lessons, and sometimes the message is a difficult message to take. Sometimes I'll stand in front of you and I'm preaching and you say, Pastor, he's just right in front of me. Why is he talking about my business? Just share my business with everybody. It's not personal. Sometimes God is trying to speak directly to you. And we don't like that. We don't like the difficult lessons. We don't like to be pushed into activity. We want to be able to choose. That's our perception. Now, in John chapter number 6, Jesus taught this lesson. And he's thinking, I hope that they get it. I hope that they can get it. So here's what happened. Then from that time, when Jesus finished his preaching, from that time, many of his disciples went back and walked with him no more. Many of them said, that's enough. Jesus, you just crossed the line. Everything was fine until you started talking that. Until it became personal, everything was fine. I was fine until you started talking about me. It was okay when you talked about the other things there, but when it became personal to me, Jesus, that's too challenging. But what he's trying to do is share with you something that he sees in you. He's trying to show you a greater glory, something that's way beyond. And they couldn't take it. They walked with him and they followed him no more. And here's what Jesus did. And Jesus said to the 12, and these are the 12, do you also want to go away? But Simon Peter asked him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Also we have come to believe and know that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. We believe this and we know this. That's what we have to know. He is our Lord. He is our Savior. I don't know why Jesus loves me. I don't know why Jesus cares. I don't know why he sacrificed his life. But I'm so glad he did. Aren't you glad that Jesus looked beyond all of your faults? Yep. He looks beyond all of the stuff. And he sees you. He doesn't see you the way you see you. He sees the real, true you. He says in Scripture that the true worshipers will worship me in spirit and in truth. That means that when we want to get beyond what we see in our perception of our life, we want truth. He says, that's what I want. I want the true you. I want the you that wants to go after me. Not after what I can give you, not after a religion, not after some worship. I want you to go after me. That means we've got to look beyond the Jesus that we read about in the book, beyond the Jesus that we've been told about, and we find the true Jesus that died for us. That's what we want. He wants you to know the true Jesus, the one who sacrificed his life for you. He says, if I can do that for you, and I brought you here, clearly there's a purpose and a plan that I have for you. But to have that, you got to give up. yourself.
Yes.
I give myself away. Lord, use me. Mold me. The question is why? Why do you want to follow Jesus? Why do you want to give up all of our life? Believe that there's so much more. You see, when it's all said and done, and at some point we're all going to leave here, nobody makes it out alive. We have to give account for why we were down here. You don't want to get to heaven and say, well, I was so busy. You know, I had so many things. You know, my mother lived with me. You know she lived with me? You know, I had to raise my family. You know, I had so much to do. Plus, I was not well most of the time, Jesus. But there's so much more beyond us. But in order to see that, you got to see the vision. Your life is not what you see. Your life is not what you're living. Your life is way beyond. Beyond your job, beyond your circumstance, beyond where you are right now. There's a vision. Pray that God would open your eyes and allow you to see something that you've never seen before. And I promise you, just like this chart, when you get it, it'll blow your mind. You say, I got it. Yes, it's Jesus. There he is. His arms are reaching out to me. That's the revelation we want. When we look beyond us, we begin to see more and more of him in everything. Then you say, I got it. I got it. Not the Jesus of the Bible, not the Jesus that somebody told you about. Now you see him. Now you see the real Jesus. Father, thank you. Thank you for the words that have gone forth.